Welcome to the Nation of History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. The parents and sister of Christa McAuliffe watched the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger at the Kennedy Space Center on January 28, 1986. Christa was a teacher and became the first civilian chosen to participate in a NASA mission. U.S. National Guard soldiers are seen opening fire on protesters at Kent State University in Ohio on May 4, 1970. During a protest in Ann Arbor, Michigan, a black woman shields a man identified with racist symbols from an angry crowd. The incident occurred in 1996 when anti-racism activists confronted members of an extremist group. The mask worn by Edward Paynell, known as the Beast of Jersey, was found after his arrest in 1971. For 11 years, he broke into homes on Jersey Island, UK, committing a series of attacks on women and children. Between 1947 and 1949, Martha Beck and Raymond Fernandez became known as the Lonely Hearts Killers for luring women through personal ads and then committing various crimes against them. In 1942, during World War II, children's gas masks were created with designs inspired by Disney characters, such as Mickey Mouse. The idea was to make the equipment less frightening for children in the event of toxic gas attacks. Survivors from the 87th floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center walked dust-covered through the streets of New York shortly after the collapse of the South Tower on September 11, 2001. What remained of the South Tower of the World Trade Center is shown amidst the debris in the area known as Ground Zero in New York City on September 14, 2001. Albina Mali-Hocevar, originally from Slovenia, fought as part of the Yugoslav resistance against the occupying forces during World War II from 1941 until the liberation of Trieste in 1945. A Wehrmacht soldier, just 10 years old, was captured by Allied forces in the city of Kronach, Germany, on April 27, 1945. A man raises his hands in a sign of surrender near the U.S.-Mexico border in an image captured in the early 20th century. He states, "I'm not an outlaw. Don't shoot. I will stop." A massive column of thousands of German prisoners of war walks along the Autobahn while dozens of tanks and armored vehicles from the United States Army and Western Allied forces pass by, heading towards their final objectives. A British soldier takes cover from the rain under a German Tiger tank in 1944 during World War II. The scene was captured amidst fighting in Western Europe, where Allied troops faced heavy vehicles like the Tiger. A photo of Osama bin Laden was published in the Independent newspaper in the United Kingdom in December 1993. At the time, he was still relatively unknown outside specific circles, despite already being involved in activities in Afghanistan. A Bible marked by a bullet is displayed as the object that saved the life of soldier Hackett during World War I in 1915. Carried in his uniform pocket, the Bible intercepted a bullet that could have been fatal. Hans Langseth, a Norwegian immigrant in the United States, is known for having the longest beard ever recorded, measuring 17.5 feet, 5.33 meters. He grew his beard from a young age and participated in fairs and exhibitions showing his unusual appearance. Jeremy Corbyn participates in a protest against apartheid in London in 1994. At the time, international movements were still pressing for the complete end of the racial segregation regime in South Africa, even after Nelson Mandela's release. Benito Mussolini appears shirtless, harvesting grain during a propaganda photo session in the Pontine Marshes, Italy, in 1938. The image was staged to reinforce his image as a strong leader connected to the working people. Rare color photos show Paris under German occupation during the World War II in the 1940s. Between 1940 and 1944, the city was under the control of Nazi forces following the surrender of France. High school football players train in Chicago in 1902. With simple uniforms and rudimentary helmets, the sport was still in its developmental phase in the United States. Criminal mugshots from the 1870s show Victorian children arrested for petty crimes in the United Kingdom. Many were convicted for simple thefts, such as stealing bread, coal, or clothes, amid the extreme poverty of the industrial era. Engineer Karen Leadley is seen working on analog computers at General Dynamics Space Division in 1964. These systems were used to simulate and calculate rocket and satellite trajectories during the early years of the space race. Children play with a toy guillotine in France in 1959. The object is a miniature replica of a historical instrument associated with the French Revolution, which occurred between 1789 and 1799. A boy is carried on the shoulders of a figure dressed as Krampus during a parade in Mittendorf, Austria, on December 6, 1949. The Krampus tradition is typical of Alpine regions and takes place during St. Nicholas's period. An elegantly dressed woman poses for a Victorian portrait beside a figure depicting a skeleton, likely part of an artistic or theatrical composition. An image of a young Vladimir Putin in 1970. Soviet punks are photographed in Leningrad in 1988, during the last years of the Soviet Union. Wearing leather jackets, pins, and bold hairstyles, these youths challenge the social and political norms of the regime. A look inside a kitchen from 1914 reveals a simple space with a wood-burning stove, iron utensils, and wooden shelves. Featured is a traditional rib prepared in the way it was served 108 years ago. Soldiers of the Austro-Hungarian Empire appear in rarely seen photos during World War I, between 1914 and 1918. The images show troops in trenches, mountain camps, and occupied villages along the Eastern Front and the Balkans. Opera singer Christina Nilsson visits her sister, who continued living as a farmer's wife in Sweden around 1900. Born into a humble family, Christina was discovered at a young age due to her exceptional voice. A completely frozen fountain is recorded in Detroit, United States, in the winter of 1906. The extreme temperatures of the region during the colder months frequently cause this type of ice formation. In the Jersey Shore region around 1905, people enjoy a day at the beach. During this time, the New Jersey coastline became a popular destination for families and tourists in the summer months. In 1917, during World War I, navies such as the British and American began using a technique called dazzle camouflage to conceal their warships. British soldiers operate anti-aircraft guns dressed in women's clothing in 1940 during World War II. Soldiers are seen handling oversized training weapons used between the 1940s and 1960s. These giant models serve to instruct recruits on the internal workings and firing mechanism of real weapons. In 1966, pilots and engineers participate in speed trials on the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, United States. Known for its flat and firm terrain, the location is ideal for reaching high speeds and breaking records. In 1992, the Barcelona Olympics marked the first time professional basketball players were allowed by FIBA to compete in the Olympics. The best NBA athletes came together to represent the United States and won the gold medal. Old photographs show female samurai with their katana swords between 1850 and 1900 in Japan. Known as onabugeisha, these warrior women belonged to the samurai class and were trained to protect their families and territories in times of war. John F. Kennedy gives a speech in the Appalachian region of the United States in 1960 during his presidential campaign. The visit was part of his effort to understand and address the challenges faced by rural and impoverished communities in the area. In 1955, in the United States, storing 4.5 megabytes of data required about 62,500 punch cards. Each card contained information encoded in small holes used for input and processing data in computers of that time. Children dressed in homemade costumes posed for the camera in the 1930s. The outfits were made with simple materials such as fabric, paper, and reused accessories, demonstrating the creativity of families at the time. A poster displayed in Nashville, Tennessee, in the United States in 1956 shows the phrase, "Southern whites are the best friends of African Americans, but without integration." This message reflects the racial tension of the civil rights period. Old Vinyl, near High Street in Glasgow, was photographed by Thomas Annan in 1868 as part of a mission to document the slums and deteriorating areas of the city. Fascinating historical photos show families harvesting hops in the countryside of England between 1900 and 1950. The hop harvest, an essential plant in beer production, was a seasonal activity that involved entire communities, including women and children. Edwardian women are photographed in police mugshots in the early 1900s after being arrested for theft and petty crimes. During this period in British and American cities, female crime was often associated with extreme poverty and lack of opportunities. A British soldier takes cover from the rain under a German Tiger tank in 1944 during World War II. The scene was captured amidst fighting in Western Europe, where Allied troops faced heavy vehicles like the Tiger. A view of the city of Deadwood in South Dakota in 1876 from the southern side. Founded during the gold rush in the Black Hills, Deadwood attracted thousands of people seeking fortune. In the early 20th century, German fishermen aboard the Seesturm ship made an unusual discovery in the North Sea. During one of the voyages, their nets captured an uncommon object or creature, sparking curiosity among the crew. The last consort queen of Mongolia is depicted in 1923 during a period of great political changes in the country. She was the wife of Bogd Khan, the last spiritual leader and monarch of Mongolia before the abolition of the monarchy. A snowstorm transforms Broad Street into a white, indistinct landscape during a harsh winter day in 1940. The street, located in downtown Philadelphia, United States, disappears under the thick snow, with pedestrians and vehicles barely visible in the storm. This daguerreotype is the oldest confirmed photographic image of Abraham Lincoln. It was taken in 1846 by Nicholas H. Shepard, shortly after Lincoln was elected to the United States House of Representatives. The oldest known photo of Elvis Presley shows the future music icon alongside his parents, Vernon and Gladys Presley, in 1938. Elvis was only 3 years old and lived with his family in Tupelo, Mississippi, United States. Two women wear cow masks in a curious and unusual image taken on an unknown date. The scene was likely part of a theatrical performance, parade, or local event with themed costumes. Two clowns and Santa Claus visit a children's hospital in the 1950s. The presence of these characters was meant to bring joy and comfort to the hospitalized children, in an era when such volunteer actions were common during special dates, like Christmas. A Japanese man poses wearing traditional garments in a photograph taken in the early 1900s. The image was taken somewhere in Japan during a transitional period when the country was undergoing rapid modernization following the Meiji era. A Navajo man is depicted dressed as Nyanesgani in the United States in 1908. In Navajo mythology, Nyanesgani is a legendary hero known as the Monster Slayer, responsible for protecting his people against dangerous creatures. Actress Belle Bilton poses dressed as the lead character in the play Beauty and the Beast in 1889. The theatrical production was part of the tradition of popular pantomime performances in Victorian England. A Bedouin mother from Saudi Arabia is portrayed in 1948 wearing traditional desert clothing. Bedouins are nomadic Arab peoples known for their lifestyle adapted to the arid regions of the Middle East. Three men with extreme physical characteristics, the shortest, the tallest, and the heaviest in Europe, are seen together having fun while drinking and playing cards around 1910. A boy enjoys an ice cream while sitting on a stranded naval mine on the beach of Deal in Kent, England, in February 1940. An old record shows a large family, the result of a father's determination to have many children seeking an heir. The mother, according to reports from the time, never refused. Boxer Fred Bretonel appears in two comparative photos, at 15 years old in 1920 and at 23 years old in 1928. Born in France, Bretonel began in the sport as a teenager and quickly stood out for his strength and technique. David Bowie, at 14 years old, is seen in a photo taken in 1961 in the United Kingdom. Still known by his birth name, David Robert Jones, he showed an early interest in music and art. A rare photo of Marilyn Monroe with almost no makeup was taken in 1955. Known for her glamorous and striking image, this photograph reveals a more natural and intimate side of the actress, away from Hollywood's spotlight. A woman walks confidently through the streets of Paris carrying a baguette and 6 bottles of wine in 1945. In 1952, a body beauty contest was held with an unusual detail. The participants wore papier-mâché masks. The goal was to ensure that the judges focused solely on the physical form of the competitors, without being influenced by facial appearance. A wooden building recorded in 1910 was, for many years, considered the oldest house in Hamburg, Germany. Located in the historic district of the city, this structure dates back to the medieval period and survived centuries of urban changes. A truck driver poses for the camera in 1910. The exact location of the image is unknown, but the vehicle and clothing indicate the early years of motorized transportation. British soldiers and a young protester appear on opposite sides of a wall in the Bogside area of Londonderry, Northern Ireland in 1971. Leonardo DiCaprio, at 30 years old, photographed in 2004 by Chilean photographer Nino Munoz in Los Angeles, United States. At the time, DiCaprio was already one of the most renowned actors of his generation, with prominent roles in films like Titanic and The Aviator. An excited young woman holds a handful of grass that Ringo Starr stepped on when he arrived at Los Angeles Airport in 1964. Disney employees line up in the cafeteria in 1961, still wearing their park costumes. The image shows characters like Snow White, a medieval nobleman, a cowboy, and even Mickey Mouse. A young flapper poses for the camera in the 1920s, wearing characteristic clothes and accessories of the time. Snowflake, the only known albino gorilla, is seen during a veterinary examination at the Barcelona Zoo on March 19, 1967. Captured in Equatorial Guinea and brought to Spain as a young gorilla, Snowflake became a global attraction due to his unique appearance. A grocery store from the 1890s displays a wide variety of products organized on wooden shelves with bags of grains, manual scales, and glass jars. A huge silver nugget is displayed in British Columbia, Canada, in 1892. Discoveries like this were common during the precious metal rushes in North America, when miners and companies intensely explored the region. A gentleman politely lifts his hat in greeting to a group of ladies in the 1920s. This gesture was a common sign of courtesy and respect in the social etiquette of the time. Cabaret dancers prepare backstage at a club in the Times Square neighborhood of New York, captured by photographer Peter Bash in 1949. This yew hedge was planted in 1720 in England and appears in the photo taken in 1962. With more than 2 centuries of growth, the living fence showcases the British tradition of cultivating and shaping shrubs in formal gardens. About 3,000 workers pose in front of the Mellon Bank building in 1964 in the United States. The image was taken during the construction or renovation of the building, bringing together workers, engineers, and other professionals involved in the project. A woman from Zanzibar, in present-day Tanzania, poses for a photograph taken in the 1890s. At that time, Zanzibar was a major commercial center in the Indian Ocean, known for its cultural diversity, resulting from African, Arab, and Indian influences. A shaman from the Kwakiutl Nation is photographed during a religious ritual in 1914. The Kwakiutl, also known as Kwakwaka'wakw, are indigenous peoples from the northwest coast of Canada, with a rich spiritual and cultural tradition. A man listens to a radio that only works after inserting coins in Washington, D.C. in 1922. This type of equipment was a technological novelty at the time, offering temporary access to broadcasts in exchange for payment. During a circus visit to a children's hospital around the 1930s, clown Charlie Smith was captured in a moment that contrasted with the expected atmosphere of joy. Annie Edson Taylor was the first person to survive a descent over Niagara Falls inside a barrel in 1901. At the age of 63, she accomplished the feat in search of fame and financial security. A rare photo shows a young Marilyn Monroe, still little known, walking along a trail in the midst of nature in 1950. The charm and glamour of train travel between 1900 and 1940. During this period, rail transportation was a symbol of elegance, comfort, and innovation. The Dornier Do X was a giant seaplane developed in Germany between 1929 and 1933. With 12 engines and 3 floors, it was the largest aircraft in the world at the time. Designed for luxury transatlantic flights, it could carry up to 160 passengers. A stone sculpture with zoomorphic shapes attributed to the Maya civilization is photographed in the late 1800s. The richly carved piece represents stylized animal figures and symbolic elements associated with Maya cosmology. The British airship R-33 is shown in stunning photos taken between 1919 and 1925. Designed based on a German model captured during World War I, the R-33 was one of the largest airships ever built by the United Kingdom.